Here's the thing about heartbreak. It's not the knockout punch that destroys you. It's the slow bleed that happens when you had everything you needed to win, and somehow, someway, you still find a way to lose. That's exactly what happened Sunday when the Cleveland Browns walked into Cincinnati with a defense playing championship-level football and walked out with a soul-crushing 17-6 defeat that had nothing to do with talent and everything to do with the same old demons that have haunted this franchise for decades. For points. For measly points left scattered on that turf in Cincinnati. For points that Andre Szmyt, our rookie kicker, who was supposed to be the answer after we cut ties with Dustin Hopkins, couldn't deliver when it mattered most. A 36-yard chip shot that sailed wide. An extra point that never had a chance. In a game decided by a single score, those 4 points weren't just missed opportunities. They were the difference between walking out of Cincinnati with our heads held high and driving home with that familiar taste of what if burning in our throats. But here's what's really eating at me, and what should be eating at every Browns fan watching this. This wasn't some fluke performance by a struggling team. This was a masterclass in self-destruction by a squad that had every single ingredient needed to win a division game on the road. Myles Garrett was absolutely terrorizing Joe Burrow, living in that backfield like he owned real estate there. 3 consecutive sacks on one drive alone, and what do we have to show for it? Absolutely nothing. 0 points. That's not football, that's malpractice. The defense, and I need you to really understand this because it's going to make what happened even more infuriating, held one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL to 7 total yards in the second half. 7 yards. Against Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase. Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome were playing like they had personal vendettas against every Bengal who dared to run a route. Chase, who's made a living embarrassing defensive backs across this league, managed exactly 2 catches all day. 2. The entire Cincinnati offense looked like they were moving through quicksand every time they touched the ball after halftime. So, how do you lose a game where your defense performs an elite level? How do you squander a performance that good? Simple. You let your offense forget how to finish drives when the lights get bright and the pressure gets real. The Browns took a 16-14 lead and then proceeded to run 4 consecutive drives that read like a horror story written specifically to torture Cleveland fans. Interception. Turnover on downs. Punt. Missed field goal. It was like watching someone intentionally sabotage their own success. Joe Flacco threw the ball 45 times, and before you start pointing fingers at the 40-year-old veteran, pump the brakes. He completed 31 of those passes for 290 yards and showed the kind of poise and pocket presence that this team desperately needed. That touchdown pass to Cedric Tillman was a thing of beauty, perfect timing, perfect placement, the kind of throw that reminded you why Flacco has been doing this at the highest level for over a decade. His first interception came off a deflection from Jerry Jeudy's hands, a pass that was catchable but just slightly low. His second pick. That wasn't on Flacco at all. He put the ball right in Tillman's chest, and it bounced up into Bengal hands like a cruel joke from the football gods. The real problem wasn't Flacco's arm or his decision-making. The real problem was watching veteran receivers drop passes that should have been routine catches. Jeudy had multiple drops, including that devastating 4th and 5 bullet that Flacco placed perfectly in his hands. You could literally feel the air being sucked out of that stadium when that ball hit the turf. That wasn't just a drop pass. That was a momentum killer, a confidence crusher, the kind of play that changes the entire trajectory of a game. What's fascinating and absolutely maddening is that Flacco seemed to have much better chemistry with the younger players. He was connecting with rookies and second-year players while the veterans were letting opportunities slip through their fingers. That tells you something important about preparation, about focus, about who's actually locked in and ready to execute when the games count. You cannot ask a 40-year-old backup quarterback to carry an entire offense by himself, especially when the guys who should be his most reliable targets are playing like they've never seen a football before. The fourth quarter was where this game died a slow, painful death. After everything the defense had done, after all the opportunities they had created, the offense just completely collapsed under pressure. It wasn't one catastrophic play. It was a series of small failures that added up to a massive disappointment. When your defense forces 3 consecutive sacks and you walk away with 0 points, that's not bad luck. That's bad execution. That's players not rising to meet the moment when everything is on the line. And that brings us back to Andre Szmyt, because this conversation has to happen whether we like it or not. This kid drilled a 45-yarder earlier in the game, showed he has the leg strength and the technical ability to succeed at this level. But when the pressure mounted, when the game was hanging in the balance, he crumbled. He admitted afterward that he rushed his approach and pushed the ball. At least he's taking accountability, but accountability doesn't put points on the board. This is the National Football League, not a development program. You don't get participation trophies for admitting your mistakes. The kicking situation in Cleveland has become a recurring nightmare that Browns fans know all too well. We've been down this road before, watching games slip away because we can't consistently make the kicks that every other team in the league takes for granted. In a division as loaded as the AFC North, where every game matters and every point counts, you simply cannot afford to leave 4 points on the field. The margin for error is too thin, the competition is too fierce, and the stakes are too high. Kevin Stefanski says he's not ready to create a kicking competition yet, but maybe it's time he gets ready real fast. Myles Garrett defended Szmyt after the game, saying the team shouldn't have been in that position to begin with, and you have to respect him for having his teammates back. But here's the reality: Garrett did his job. He was dominant when it mattered most, creating opportunity after opportunity for this team to capitalize. The rest of the team didn't hold up their end of the bargain. What makes this loss so devastating isn't that the Browns got outplayed or outcoached. They didn't. What makes it devastating is that they beat themselves in the most Cleveland Browns way possible. They had a defense playing at championship level. They had a quarterback making plays under pressure. They had opportunities falling into their lap like gift-wrapped presents, and somehow they still found a way to lose. That's the kind of loss that can define a season if you let it, the kind of game that creates doubt and destroys confidence if you don't address the problems immediately. The path forward has to start with accountability at every level. The front office needs to bring in competition at the kicker position, not next week, not after another missed kick costs them a game, but now. The coaching staff needs to figure out why veteran receivers are dropping catches that rookies are making look easy. And defensive coordination needs to get real about finishing drives when the defense creates short fields and golden opportunities. But here's the thing that should give Browns fans hope. Even after a loss this crushing, every single problem that cost them this game is fixable. This wasn't about talent. This wasn't about scheme. This wasn't about being overmatched by a superior opponent. This was about execution in critical moments, about doing the fundamental things right when the pressure is at its highest. And if this team can clean up those issues, if they can learn to capitalize on the dominance their defense is providing, they have the foundation of a legitimate playoff contender. The defense proved on Sunday that they can go toe-to-toe with anyone in this league. Holding Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase to those numbers isn't lucky. That's elite football. That's the kind of performance that wins championships when the other units do their jobs. The question now becomes whether the rest of the team can rise to meet that standard, whether they can match the intensity and execution that the defense brings every single week. This moment right here, this is the crossroads. The Browns can take this heartbreak, learn from it, grow from it, and come back stronger. They can use this as motivation to clean up the mistakes and prove they're ready to be contenders in one of the toughest divisions in football. Or they can let this loss eat at them. Let the same old ghosts creep back in and watch another season slip away because they couldn't capitalize when everything was set up perfectly for success. The choice is theirs, and frankly, the choice is ours as fans. We can panic, we can overreact, we can let one game define our expectations for the entire season. Or we can recognize that this team showed they have championship-level defense and the potential for so much more if they can just get out of their own way. The talent is there. The coaching is there. The opportunity is there. Now it's time to see if the execution can follow. Make sure you smash that like button if you want to see more honest breakdowns like this, and don't forget to subscribe to Browns Breakout for all your Cleveland Browns analysis. We're going to be here every step of the way this season, breaking down the good, the bad, and everything in between. Because win or lose, through heartbreak or celebration, we're Browns fans, and we never stop believing that next week can be the week everything comes together.